Hi Foundations of Business Analysis students, and welcome to this Excel tutorial on cross tabulations. Cross tabulations are a form of descriptive statistic analysis for categorical variables that we use when we want to identify the frequency of observations that fall at the intersection of two different variables. So let's jump into Excel and show how we can use pivot tables in order to derive a cross tabulation. So what I've got open here is my real estate case study Excel file, and I'm going to create a pivot table as a means of constructing my cross tabulation. So on the ribbon at the top, I click Insert and select a pivot table, and I click OK for that pivot table to be created within a new worksheet. Now that my pivot table menu is open, I select the variables that I want to be displayed in the rows and columns of that pivot table. Now, because a cross tabulation is comparing two categorical variables at their intersections, I need to identify two different fields to incorporate in my table. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I want to compare the number of observations within each category for the condition of the house and compare that to whether or not the house has a waterfront aspect. So I'm going to click on my condition variable and drag it down as my row label, and click on my waterfront variable and drag that down as my column label. So you can see here I've got rows and columns labeled here for the different observations that are possible for those two variables. The last thing I need to do is I need to select one or the other of these variables, anyone is fine, and drag that down into the variables box down the bottom. Now you can see what it's automatically done is it's automatically calculated a sum of those particular observations. I don't want to calculate a sum, I just want a count of the number of observations within each category. So I'm going to click here and change the value field settings and change that to count. Okay. And what I've now got is I've got a count of the number of observations that fall within each category for those houses that either do with a 1 or don't with a 0 have a waterfront aspect. We can see in total there's only 14 houses in our sample that do actually have a waterfront aspect, and we can see that their condition is equally distributed between being either 3 or 4. And we can also see here the breakdown of the conditions of the house for those properties that do not have a waterfront aspect. So by using cross tabulations, what we can effectively do is we can compare whether or not the condition of a house differs according to whether the house has a waterfront aspect or not. So that's how we can use cross tabulations in Excel. Thank you for listening to our video.